To start us off here, we're going to talk high level about the idea of song structure, particularly in dance music. And so you can see from our handy dandy visual here, I've got a little bit of like a timeline that gives us a basic structure of a dance type of track. And so I've kind of color coded things and tried to differentiate them as best as I can. But we'll start at the very far left with the introduction of a track. And you can see that the introduction is usually where we kind of set the mood or tempo and rhythm and feeling of a track. And, if you've ever listened to a type of dance track, sometimes they come in different flavors. For example, like a radio edit versus an extended mix. A radio edit typically cuts out the intro and tries to get as quickly as possible to the meat of a track, whereas more DJ intended mixes like an extended mix or an original mix tend to have a little bit longer of that intro, which is kind of like setting the mood and allowing DJs to sort of mix into the beginning of a track without getting too excited to start off with. Now, the intro of a track leads next into what is sometimes called the verse or the build up. Now, build up and verse kind of can go in sort of one category in dance music, but I've sort of broken them out into two because I think it's helpful to talk about them as two different entities. And the verse is kind of where you get the first main introduction of the musical idea of the track. And so usually that includes like, some sort of light chords or melody. And so a little bit of teasing with what the musical idea is. And it's really where the artist has the opportunity to tell that story or introduce the idea that they're trying to communicate to the audience. Following the verse is the build up, and that is usually the exciting tension building part of a track where it's really getting the audience super excited and interested in what is going to come next. It's almost this dramatic build to kind of get everybody really, really roused and rowdy. And the build-up naturally leads into the chorus, or what is sometimes in dance music called the drop. And the chorus is kind of like the destination of a track, and we can see the chorus right here. It's sort of the main refrain. It's the release of, and it's the central, usually presenting the central musical idea or main idea of the track. Lyrically, this can be, usually a repetitive set of lyrics that kind of repeat over and over again. Usually the chorus is also somehow related to the title of a track. It might have that, central kind of lyric or phrase that is repeated over and over again. And it's really that exciting, juicy, neat part of the track. Now, the chorus typically then flows into what is called the breakdown or the break in electronic music specifically. Now, I think in traditional music like rock music, this might be called the bridge, but this is usually an opportunity for the track to kind of pause and reset the energy level. We've had this big sort of ecstasy, this big high of the chorus, and we're like, yeah, this is so awesome. And the break allows us to kind of reset, or it resets the energy of the track. And usually it's a little different from the verse. It might have some kind of special element to it, like a saxophone or maybe a guitar solo or something like that to differentiate it from the verse. And what's unique to maybe dance music is that a lot of dance tracks typically have a 2-and-2 structure, which is usually composed of 2 breakdowns slash build-ups and 2 drops slash courses. And usually you'll have one sort of build-up or break in the beginning, like we had here with the first build-up, which is a bit shorter and leading into the kind of first course. And then you'll have usually a second breakdown and build up that usually brings to the second kind of climax of the track, which is the second course here, which again, to go back to what we said about the chorus before, is that release, it's that main refrain, it's the drop, it's the central idea of the track, and this kind of goes on, it really brings out the energy of the dance floor, and the chorus then leads into what is sometimes called the outro, which is the kind of the come down of the climax. It's kind of the exiting, it's the leaving the stage, it's the teasing of last little emotional twinges that you want to give to the listener and before you exit the track. And notably for dance music, typically DJs, there are kind of extended mixes, and in the extended mix is usually where you kind of have these longer extended periods, providing the opportunity to mix out of the track. That's just a high level of kind of how most dance music is structured, and intuitively, if you've listened to dance music, you've probably kind of already grasped this structure even without any kind of formal framing of it. But hopefully this framing can now provide the vocabulary in order for you to talk a little bit more about it, and also to think a little bit about it as you are mixing. I hope you join me in the next video where we actually do a little bit of an analysis of a track that in this kind of using some of the new vocabulary that we've learned.